It was a balmy Sunday afternoon in June 2024, the kind of day that begged for a backyard barbecue in the quiet suburb of Willow Creek, Virginia. The air was thick with the smoky aroma of ribs slow cooking on my brand new grill, a beast of a machine that could have starred in a chef's fever dream. My backyard, freshly revamped after weeks of sweat-soaked renovations, string lights twinkling, a sleek cedar deck, and speakers humming a soulful blues playlist, was ready to host. This wasn't some raucous blowout, just a small gathering of friends and neighbors, a dozen folks at most, savoring cold lemonade and grilled corn. But in a neighborhood like ours, where every blade of grass seemed to answer to an HOA rulebook, peace was a fragile thing. And that peace shattered when red and blue lights flooded my yard, freezing everyone mid-bite, barbecue sauce dripping from chins. The trouble started with my neighbor, Linda Voss, the self-appointed sheriff of Willow Creek. Linda lived 3 houses down, but her presence loomed like a storm cloud. She'd once reported my mailbox for being offensively tilted by half an inch. She'd sent emails to the HOA about my porch pumpkins lingering past Halloween. This was a woman who'd argue a sparrow's chirp violated noise ordinances. Around 4 p.m., I caught her glaring over my fence, lips pursed, arms folded like a judge at a witch trial. I waved, holding up a rib as a truce. She didn't blink, just spun on her heel and vanished in her house. I figured she was off to draft another complaint. I didn't expect her to call 911. 10 minutes later, sirens wailed. 2 police cruisers rolled into my driveway, lights flashing like a crime scene. My buddy Sam dropped his soda, looking ready to plead the fifth. My neighbor Clara whispered about a party she'd seen busted like this. Then the officers stepped out, and the tension cracked like a bad joke. "Yo, Nate, you still out here burning meat?" called Officer Greg, my old high school linebacker buddy, grinning ear to ear. Behind him was Tony, the kid who'd once pranked our principal, now a cop with a badge and a smirk. They strode into my yard, fists out for daps. "This the new setup you were bragging about?" Greg asked, eyeing the deck. Across the street, Linda emerged, clutching a stack of HOA rules like a holy relic, her phone aimed at us like she was filming a sting operation. She shrieked about fire hazards, illegal gatherings, and her right to unpolluted air. Tony leaned in, whispering, "You owe me a wing for this nonsense." My guests roared with laughter. Clara raised her cup in a mock toast. Greg turned to Linda, voice calm but firm. "Ma'am, this isn't an emergency. No laws are being broken." Linda's face twitched like she'd been slapped. She stammered about smoke and health risks, but Greg shut her down, explaining that grilling was legal, the music was soft, and false 911 calls could earn her a fine. She stormed off, muttering about conspiracies, clearly unaware that Greg and Tony knew my Labrador's name and my secret hot sauce recipe. The next morning, a letter was taped to my door, a formal HOA warning about unauthorized gatherings, signed by Linda Voss, HOA compliance chair. I chuckled, sipping coffee on my porch, catching her eye as she surveyed her lawn with a clipboard. She didn't smile. Neither did I, but inside I was plotting. Linda thought she'd won round 1, but she'd just lit a fuse. Her campaign escalated. By Monday, my neighbor Tim, a soft-spoken guy, showed me his own HOA warning for cluttered yard decor, 2 ceramic turtles by his roses. We swapped stories, realizing Linda wasn't just after me. She was bullying anyone who dared breathe freely. At the next HOA meeting, held in a drab community center under buzzing lights, Linda presided like a queen, her voice syrupy but venomous. She ranted about smoke disturbances and community unrest, her words vague but pointed. When I asked which rules I'd broken, she smirked, saying it was about the spirit of the rules. That was her game-weaponizing ambiguity. Other neighbors whispered to me afterward, sharing their own citations, one for garish porch lights, another for a car parked an inch over a line. Linda was building a fiefdom, and we were her serfs. Then she sent an HOA inspector to my yard, a nervous guy with a clipboard snapping photos of my solar lights like they were evidence in a murder trial. I caught him on my security cam and told him to leave unless he had a warrant. Days later, I got 2 more violations, one for overgrown grass, mowed the day before, and 1 4 unapproved fixtures. Linda was grasping, and desperate people slip. I started documenting everything: letters, visits, timestamps. Greg and Tony, now nicknamed the barbecue sheriffs, warned me she called them 3 more times that week, once about a menacing squirrel. I upgraded my cameras, added a dash cam to my car, and named my file Operation Grill Freedom. It was half a joke, half a mission. The breaking point came when my elderly neighbor, Ruth, sobbed on her porch. She'd installed a rain barrel with a city grant, only to get an HOA warning for unpermitted construction. Seeing her tremble over a plastic bucket flipped a switch in me. Linda wasn't just petty, she was hurting people. I met Greg at his precinct, showing him my dossier. He was floored by the pattern: false reports, HOA abuse, potential fraud. Tony grinned, saying, "Linda's playing HOA dictator, but she's about to meet karma." Greg suggested a formal complaint to the HOA Oversight Board, but I wanted more public reckoning. Linda thrived on fear and silence. I'd use community and sunlight to burn her out. The plan was bold: a massive, legal, charity barbecue for first responders, dubbed Unity Over Uproar. I secured permits, rallied local business. A butcher donated ribs. A soda company chipped in drink sand, got the mayor's office to back it, thanks to a park project I'd worked on. I filed the event with the HOA, citing bylaws that protected charitable gatherings with sponsors. Linda tried to block it, calling an emergency meeting and ranting about smoke trauma with made-up stats. But a board member, Harold, called her bluff, demanding evidence. I handed out printed bylaws, and her objection crumbled. She looked rattled, and I savored it. The event was magic. By 10 a.m., volunteers strung lights and set tables. Greg and Tony parked their cruisers out front, their kids bouncing in an inflatable castle. At noon, I thanked the firefighters and paramedics, passing out plates of brisket. Neighbors who'd never spoken swapped stories, laughing like old friends. Linda lurked, snapping photos from the sidewalk, then confronted Greg, waving a laminated HOA rule and accusing us of impersonating law enforcement with our banner. Greg offered her a burger, stone-faced, and warned her about disorderly conduct. She fled, but not before calling the fire marshal, only to learn he was a guest, chowing down on my sliders. Every move she made backfired. A news crew showed up, filming neighbors praising the event. Social media exploded with grill justice and Linda loses. By dusk, a city letter thanked me, noting Linda's complaints were retaliatory. I toasted Greg and Tony with root beer, the neighborhood glowing under starlight. But Linda wasn't done. A week later, she summoned me to an HOA hearing, accusing me of endangering safety and misrepresenting leadership. She presented a blurry photo of me grilling, flames circled in red like a terrorist plot. It was laughable, but her desperation was dangerous. She filed complaints with the mayor, claiming my event psychologically scarred her, and posted lies on Facebook about HOA fund misuse. Neighbors fought back, debunking her claims with screenshots. Then came her final gambit, a fake lawsuit letter brimming with legal gibberish, accusing me of defamation. My lawyer neighbor, Paul, drafted a cease and desist, listing her harassment. We delivered it, and her face as she read it was pure defeat. Linda went quiet. Her posts stopped. Her blind stayed shut. The neighborhood bloomed: cleanup days, potlucks, kids playing freely. At the next HOA election, I stepped down, nominating Harold, who won easily. I stayed involved, ensuring transparency and fairness. Months later, I saw Linda loading her car. Her house had sold. She looked drained, not angry, just a shadow of the tyrant she'd been. I didn't wave. That night, Greg, Tony, and I sat in my yard, grilling leftovers, the sunset painting the sky gold. No words about Linda, just peace, laughter, and the hum of a free neighborhood. So what do you think? Was I too harsh, turning Linda's tactics against her? Or was public accountability the only way to stop a bully? Should neighbors always fight petty tyrants? Or does it risk escalating drama? And how far would you go to protect your backyard peace? Drop your thoughts below. hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life showdowns.